Here's another Canadian who hates America, hates capitalism, hates America with a burning passion, and that's James, oh, for God's sake, Cameron, who directed Aliens, and my favorite movie, by the way, and also directed Avatar. And in Avatar, you get a chance to see what James Cameron thinks of America. Giovanni Ribisi is the businessman who says, kill all those blue skin monkeys. I don't care. You know, we've come 6 trillion miles, or whatever it is, 36 trillion miles, or whatever, I've forgotten the number, I used to know it, from Earth to come here. But there's this unobtainium underneath this big tree, and in the movie they say, and the next closest one is 100 clicks away. In other words, we've come hundreds of trillions of kilometers to get here, but we're not ready to go another 60 kilometers in order to get the stuff that doesn't involve killing the blue-skinned tiger monkey people. That's Cameron's opinion of American business. Cameron's opinion of American military is the kind of guy who sits there sipping coffee, watching the natives burn, and thinks it's just fantastic. That's what James Cameron thinks about America. That's what he thinks about American business, what he thinks about American military. That's why he put him in the movie. And if you look at the briefing room, I will show you this picture. You know what? I'm going to show it to you now. It's not going to show up on YouTube. I don't care. I don't care. And it's going to take a few seconds. I don't care about that either. Give me 1 minute here. Because you guys in the Stratosphere Lounge deserve sneak peeks of these things. And I don't know how many of you know about this, but you're all going to know about it tomorrow. Where is it? It's around here. I'm getting to it. Don't you worry. Yeah, there's one close up, but that's not even a wide shot. It's worth the wait, believe me. It's the kind of thing that is not accidental. It can't be accidental. I know how movies are made, and this is not only is this not an accident, this is a very carefully manufactured issue. 1 second. I know I hate the dead air, but this is worth it, believe me. Have they scrubbed the internet of this? Have they Hang in there, folks. I just hate the dead air too, but let me see if there's anything like this. Let's take out the room. This will blow your mind. It's one of these things where once you see it, it cannot be unseen. And I can't find any images of it. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Good. Now give me a second while I drop this into this device, and I'll see if I can cut this into YouTube. Thanks for sticking with me. Hang on a second here. Give me 1 second. I promise you this will be worth the wait. So now I'm going to make a new scene here. If I disappear, hang on. Okay. Hopefully you can still hear me. It looks like I'm sending out signals. Let's add a picture. Media source. Okay. Hopefully you still got me. Browse. Desktop. Hang on. Where the hell is it? Don't go away. Please just stay right there. Why is this not coming up? Maybe this is still a picture. I apologize for this, but I am also telling you, honestly, it will be worth the wait. Come on, Bill. Can I just not drag this onto the timeline? That'd be nice if I could just do that. Can I do that? Hey, there it is. Okay, hang on. Okay. Great. Okay, here I am. Sorry about the delay. As I said, this will be worth it to you. There, you can see the briefing room. Everybody see the briefing room? This is where the guy is talking about going out there to annihilate the whatever they call these blue-skinned people. So let's have a quick look at it again. There's the briefing room. Everybody see it? Okay, let's go back. Now, for those of you who have not seen it, I'm going to go back. And this time, I'm going to go back, and I want you to pay attention to something. I'm glad you got a chance to look at it. Everybody recognizes it, and so on. When I go back, you tell me what you see in the window when this man is talking about going out and murdering these innocent people. This is James Cameron's view of America right here. You tell me what you see in the window behind the guy doing the talking. Because I see an American flag, and so does everybody else. And so did you. You didn't know it, but you saw it. You didn't know that you saw it, but you saw it. And it went in there with the rest of this stuff into your head. It's not an accident. That wasn't put together by accident. It wasn't a question of framing. It was very, very, very delicate created. They had to get the props. They had to get the louvers. They had to get the air conditioning unit. They had to get everything they wanted to have this murdering bastard standing in front of an American flag when he's out there getting ready to kill people, because that's what famed Canadian director James Cameron thinks about America. That's what he thinks about America right there. We're the murderers, and we're the aggressors, and we're all this other stuff. And Cameron doesn't think much of capitalism either. He's worth several $billion, but he's against it on principle. And by the way, Foghorn, were you the only one rooting for the soldiers? No, I was rooting for the soldiers 100%. I was with them 100%. I just couldn't get over it. Yeah, what a sneaky jerk, huh? You want to say it one more time? This is how Hollywood controls your brain without people knowing it. But this is the briefing room. I bet you everybody who was in the movie watched it. I didn't catch it when I was watching the movie. I had no idea, but I did. I caught it subliminally. But this is what James Cameron thinks about America. Let's look at it one more time, shall we? Just to appreciate the genius of the evilness of it. Okay. So, what does that tell you? Okay, what does it tell you? I know what it tells me. So, this is Avatar, Sarge. This is Avatar. This is the military that doesn't say U.S. military on it, doesn't say American military on it. They call them mercenaries, but it's the Marines. And when and this is the same guy who made the Colonial Marines in Aliens that I love so much. So we're the bad guys. We're the bad guys in our own movies, and we are paying people like James Cameron billions of dollars so that he can make us the villains in our own movies. So now we get back once again to the flag planting. Why is this important? The planting of the American flag was the only thing during that entire mission that recognized the people that actually did the work. And to say that this is a collective achievement of humanity is nonsense. It's not a collective achievement of humanity. It's a collective achievement of America. And to the degree that America is part of humanity, that's fine. But let me tell you a few things about this Apollo program. The people, I forget who it was. I saw it in a documentary. I'm pretty sure it was one of the Apollo astronauts who said this. But looking back on Apollo, this movie was made, I want to say, just a few years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, so 30, 40 years after Apollo. One of the guys who was really instrumental in the Apollo program said, we didn't have the technology to go to the moon in 1969. We somehow had to reach into the future, 50 years, and just bring back just enough technology to get us to do what we had to do. I thought that was a very, very profound and interesting way of putting it. We had to reach into the future because we don't have the technology to do this right now. We have to reach into the future in our imaginations and find the pieces we need in order to go. And we did. Now, we were racing the Russians, or the Soviets, I should say, and the Soviets. Here's the thing about the Soviets, and this is the difference between our two cultures. Every single was it CERN? Every single thing that America did in our space program, we did in front of the world. In other words, here goes Alan Shepard in Freedom 7. It's a suborbital flight on board a Mercury Redstone rocket. And if the thing blows up and blows Alan Shepard all over the southern Florida beaches, then everybody's going to see that too. The Soviets flew their missions in utter secrecy, and after they had succeeded, they released the footage. But when they didn't succeed, they withheld the footage. And the N-1 rocket that was the Soviet equivalent of the Saturn V had 2 launches, both of them catastrophic. The first one was horrific, it just killed 150 people on the ground. And they weren't going to take a chance with doing it wrong. We did all of this in front of everybody. We did all of this in front of the whole world, and if Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin had crashed that thing live, then they would have crashed it live. And to say that we would have had egg on our faces is something that's just beyond stupid. There's no... you don't make a comment that trivial about something that gigantic. But this is the thing that drives me absolutely insane about the whole thing, was how unbelievably gracious we were as a people during the moon landing. And now, these America-hating Hollywood bastards and some Canadian director decide they're going to cut it out because they don't want to anger the Chinese who were murdering tens of millions of their own people while we were getting ready to go to the moon. I find this so morally reprehensible that I just don't know what to do about it. I just don't know what to do about it. Except fight it. I have when I heard this news, I got a hold of my friend Bert Rutan, and I know that Bert carries a lot of weight in the aerospace community, and I told him I didn't want to stand for it. And I asked him if he had the connections to get me to the people I wanted to talk to. So, I don't know what percentage of moonwalkers, somebody can tell me this easily, I don't know what it was. 12 people walked on the moon. I don't know what percentage of them is still alive. I don't know how many of them are still alive. I don't know how many Apollo program astronauts are still alive. That's a larger number. I think the Moonwalkers is probably the most exclusive club in the history of the world. 12 people, that's all, ever, period. Somebody pointed out to me once, they said, no one has ever walked on the moon that was born after 1930. If you were born after 1930, no one has walked on the moon. And yes, Edward Smith, you can tell a moon rock from an earth rock. It's very, very, very distinctive. It's a gray, and it's a kind of an igneous kind of thing that I've never seen anything before, ever, like it. So they're going to cut the flag planting because they don't want to anger the Chinese. So let me think this through here. Does that mean that they're going to take the American flag off of the moon? No. Does it mean that the stuff on the moon is going to have the flag in the background removed? No. Does it mean that when the Saturn V goes off the pad and it says United States and the big American flag and the USA on the side of the Saturn V, is that going to be taken away? No. So what is it that is going to tell the Chinese that this wasn't a Chinese mission when everybody knows that the first people to land on the moon was America? So why did they do it? They did it because they're embarrassed about it. And this Canadian bastard did it because he has an idea of what patriotism is. And of all the things I said earlier, the thing that made me the most angry was, I think I lost the track of it, imagine, was that the cutting the flag planting pissed me off, but when the director got on Hannity and said, well, Neil wasn't really very patriotic anyway. Really. That's when I had some other thoughts about this, Nobody goes into the film business for their country. I've never heard of anybody who says, I want to be an actor to serve my country. I've never heard anybody say, yeah, I want to go out to Hollywood and I want to make films because I feel I owe a debt to America. It is the most selfish, ego-driven occupation on the face of the earth, and I ought to know because I'm a part of it and I wanted to be that aspect of it. But I also wanted to fly fighter jets for my country. So I understand what patriotism is, and I don't think patriotism is what they think it is. And even if it was this, redneck, knuckle dragging, like I said, these people think that we went to the moon and put the big foam "We're number one" sign right there, and we all just got in there and saluted it and just went to the camera and just mugged like you see sometimes people do at the Olympics. It's just ridiculous, and it's just horrible. But here's what's interesting about the people that are still alive. And Martin Archer's just given me a great thing here. Buzz Aldrin's still alive. No one from the other first 3 missions. Moonwalkers remain are David Scott from Apollo 15, Charlie Duke from 16, and Harrison Schmitt from Apollo 17. I thought Schmitt had died. I know Cernan died not too long ago. All right, but here's what's interesting. As I record this, unless I'm mistaken, Neil Armstrong flew 2 missions. He flew Gemini 8 with Dave Scott, and he flew Apollo 11 with Michael Collins and Buzz Aldrin. And all 3 of those guys are alive. All 3 of them. And I wanted to get in touch with all 3 of these guys because of all the people that have weight in this. These are the 3 I want to reach. I want to reach, and I've got email addresses for at least one of them. I want to reach Dave Scott. I want to reach Mike Collins, and I want to reach Buzz Aldrin. And I want to get them on camera. And I want to get them on camera talking about what they think about this. Because the reason these guys are so powerful is all of them are going to be in the movie prominently. There are going to be actors prominently playing Dave Scott, Mike Collins, and Buzz Aldrin. You can't tell the story of Neil Armstrong without those 3 other guys. So I want to talk to them. I want to get them on camera. I'm trying to pull this off. I was originally thinking I'd be able to go and film them. Maybe, maybe not. But in any event, I want to at least get them on Skype. I want to get what the people that flew with Neil Armstrong have to say about this. I want to hear what they have to say about this, taking the flag planting off. And I especially want to hear what they have to say about Neil Armstrong not being very patriotic. I want them to tell me what they think about that. And then I want to take this movie with me not in it, just with the astronauts, and then I want to go and I want to get on Hannity, I want to get everywhere, and I want to tell the entire country, all of you people who want to see this story, he's my hero. Neil Armstrong is the idol of my lifetime, and I was looking forward to this movie more than anything in the world, and I'm not going. And I cannot give anybody who cares about this mission and cares about this country and who cares about Neil Armstrong, I cannot let this go without saying these people that made this decision for their own personal petty political biases need to pay the price for this decision. They need to pay for it. If they're going to tell the American people, well, we don't care about making you guys angry, but we care an awful lot about making the Chinese people angry, that's a financial consideration that is designed to bring them more revenues. And I think we ought to say, okay, well, my job now, as Bill Whittle, my job is to make sure that the additional Chinese revenues that you got from this decision are offset by the loss of American revenues that you're going to receive from a boycott of this movie. That's my job. My job is to make sure that you don't get away with it scot-free. My job is to make sure that Hollywood pays a price for having made this decision. You want more box office from China? Fantastic. I hope it costs you all of the American box office. I'm going to make it a patriotic issue. I'm going to say it's not just a question of Neil Armstrong. It's not a question of the movie business. It's not a question of anything. It's about this rewriting of history that everybody has to do, and I'm bloody sick of it. I've had enough of it. We don't deserve it. We deserve much better, and I've had enough of it. And by the way, Hollywood, you decide to put that moon landing back in, and this will turn from a boycott movement into an enthusiastic endorsement for the film, because this man's story needs to be told. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to this movie. I'm not going to see any movie this guy's ever directed, and it pains me to say I'm not going to go see any more movies with Ryan Gosling, because I like Ryan Gosling. He's a terrific actor. But they're going to have to pay. They're going to have to pay. I want to know how many times... I want to know how many people were murdered by the Chinese during the course of the Apollo program. Well, during the course of all three, Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo. How many people were murdered by the Chinese government? It's tens of millions, starved to death intentionally. And this is the way we have our ethics now. We are going to basically say, we're going to spit in the eye of the American people who came in peace for all mankind in order to appease this communist Chinese government that murdered 50 million people, and this is the ethics of Hollywood. It's the ethics of Hollywood because Harvey Weinstein is the ethics of Hollywood, and Bill Cosby is the ethics of Hollywood, and all of this is the ethics of Hollywood. They're a bunch of rapists and a bunch of soft, shallow, stupid people. Stupid people like this Canadian director. Neil Armstrong wasn't very patriotic. Why do you think he went? I don't even know this guy's name yet. I will. Why do you think he went? You think that Neil Armstrong went to the moon so he could make a lot of money and be famous? No, you think that because that's what motivates you. You don't have any idea what motivates these people. I'll tell you what motivates these people. I can tell you exactly what motivates these people. I can tell you exactly why this flag planting needs to be in there. I can give it to you all in one very simple story. I got a chance to talk to Burt Rutan and be friends with him, and I also got a chance to talk to Dick Rutan. Burt gets a lot of publicity. He designed the Voyager and the Spaceship One and all that other stuff. But Dick Rutan flew the Voyager around the world, his Burt's older brother. And Dick Rutan was a combat pilot flying F-100s in Vietnam. And Dick Rutan told me in person one night a story about why this flag planting needs to be there. He told me this several years ago. And he basically said this. There was a mission when Dick was flying a combat mission in Vietnam, and some guy got shot down. And he parachuted down into the jungle, and he had a small handheld radio, and Dick happened to be the guy who was closest on station, so Dick is in his F-100 circling around the jungle talking to the guy on the ground, because those radios don't have tremendous range. So they decide they're going to send in their search and rescue like they usually do, and they send these guys in to get them out, and all of a sudden the ground fire gets pretty hot, and they're taking a lot of fire. And then they decide that they're going to leave this guy. And they call Dick Rutan on the radio, and they tell Dick to tell the guy on the ground that we're not coming for him. No, the Smoking Thunderhawk was the F-4, Dave Big Booty. The lead sled was the F-105. The F-100 was the Hun. So Dick Rutan now is in the jungle, flying over enemy territory. He's got a fellow pilot on the ground in the jungle there, and it's his job to tell him that the rescue mission is not going to happen. And Dick Rutan said, no, I'm not going to tell him that. Who made this decision? It was made at the top level by a general. Get him on the radio. What? Say again? Get the general on the radio. I want the general who made this decision to tell me what to say to this guy. And here's the point. Dick said to me, in person, to my face, he said, look, Bill, we have a deal. And Foghorn will probably back this up too. We have a deal. It's an unspoken deal, but it's a deal. And here's how the deal works. I agree to risk my life for my country, and I agree to be willing to, and in many cases, give my life for my country. And in exchange for that, my country promises to come after me when I get in trouble. This is why the Benghazi thing made me so absolutely furious. He said, I go into combat for my country because I know that if I get in trouble, my country is going to come after me, and that's the deal. And that's why I'm not going to tell this guy we're not coming after him, because I'm not going to be the guy who tells him that the deal is off. I want some general to tell me how I tell this guy that the deal is off. The F-86 was the Sabre. The F-100 was the Super Sabre. There's a lot of discussion about it. Was named the Hun by the pilots. Most of the airplanes in Air Force aviation get nicknames. The F-105 was called the Lead Sled, or the Thud. The F-4 was called the Smoking Thunderhawk. The F-16 technically is the Falcon. The pilots call it the Viper, and so on and so on and so on. The A-10 is the Lightning II. Sorry, Thunderbolt II, and it's called the Warthog. So they're nicknames for these things. And that's basically what they use for them. Yeah, so that's it. So it's a violation of the deal. And so when this Chinese idiot says that Neil Armstrong's not patriotic, what he means is Neil Armstrong didn't walk around wearing an Uncle Sam red, white, and blue felt top hat, and we didn't plant the foam rubber finger on the moon. But Neil Armstrong went to the moon because of his country, because you don't risk your life for this. You don't risk your life for a movie. If this guy who directed this movie had been told, we're going to let you direct the movie, but there's probably a 30% chance that you won't make it. In other words, we're going to roll a dice, and you're going to roll a 100, 2D20 or whatever. We're going to come up with a number between 1 and 100. And if this random number comes up 1 to 35, let's say, then unfortunately you don't get to finish the movie. And I hate to be the person to tell you this, but we're going to have to shoot you in the head immediately. If you'd asked this guy, go ahead, make the movie now. I just wanted you to know that there's a 30% or a 50% chance that a number is going to come up, and that means that we're just going to have to shoot you in the head. Go ahead. I get the feeling that this director would not take those odds. I get the feeling none of these people in Hollywood would take these odds. I don't think there's an actor alive that would take these odds, and none of them would take the odds because making a movie is not worth that chance of dying. But going to the moon is. And these guys were well aware of what they were facing. Most of these guys, like Armstrong, were coming through the test pilot phase in the 60s, where, if I remember correctly from The Right Stuff, every time you went and flew a mission as a test pilot in one of these new airplanes, you had a 25% chance of not coming back alive. You just think about the numbers there. 25% chance of not coming back alive. You fly 5 missions, what does that look like? For a while there, the number of test pilots that were getting killed out at Edwards Air Force Base, and Neil Armstrong was in that class, was horrific. The amount of casualties that we took in bombing missions over Germany, on a single raid, we might lose 15-20% of the fleet. We shoot down 100 bombers, that's 1,000 men. Why do you think those guys went? Do you think they went because it made them famous? Do you think they went because it made them rich? No, they went because it was for their country. They did it for their country. Just because they're not walking around with a Tea Party flag and a Gadsden flag, and they're not trailing red, white, and blue streamers from behind their car, doesn't mean they're not patriotic. It means they're doing it for something bigger than they are, and that's why they went. And that's why they took those odds. That's why I would take those odds. That's why anybody who is willing to sign on the dotted line takes those odds, because they understand that there's something bigger than that. And what's bigger than that is this country and the idea that decent human beings can live in peace and freedom and go to the moon and say that we came in peace for all mankind. That's why they go. That's the patriotism that makes them go. And that's the deal that they have with the government and the country. So, my God, man. Is it Illinois? My aircraft were Skyhawk, Phantom, Crusader, Corsair 2, Intruder, Tomcat, and Orion B and C. Did you fly all of those? That's awfully impressive. Naval aviation there. Wow. Especially the Skyhawk. It's a cool little airplane. Anyway, I think I've got most of this out of my system. Try and get it into some concise form. And by the way, I'm going to also include the Star Wars thing here. I'm going to include the Avatar thing because it needs to be there to show what people think about patriotism in Hollywood. This is their opinion of patriotism. Ordnance Chief. Nevertheless, very impressive. Very impressive. That's not easy work. And the Forrestal incident shows us it's not very safe work either. My understanding is that the flight deck on an aircraft carrier is the single most dangerous occupation in the world. I'm very proud that you're watching this show, for all of you, except for Foghorn. Anyway,